I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so today we would be going with the quick recap, then we would be going with the OVP, and then we would be going with the deployment. That would be a quick brief agenda I can talk about. So if I talk about the quick recap, then let's just see what we learned onto the earlier session. So let's just talk via the output itself that we were able to achieve yesterday. So we generated an app called analytical app, okay, analytical list page. So the analytical list page, if I just quickly go through the output, how it would be looking alike. Just getting loaded. So you can see analytical list app contain multiple sections. Okay. First of all, the bottommost section, also called as a bottom table component, or it would be analytical table. Then we have a center component and topmost component called visual filters, and here we have a Kpi chart. This is something that we achieved in the earlier session. Of course, due to some issue in the local web IDE, we were not able to find this chat over here. So what we also did in the earlier session was we generated the same application again using a VS Code as well. Okay, so using Visual Studio Code, of course, we followed the same step. Of course, most of the steps, fortunately, we are going with the CDS Fiori element. So 95% of the stuff is almost covered by using the CDS itself. So all we just did is generated an application and plug in few things, and then we were ready to go. So if we just see the output in the VS Code as well, okay. So the application is getting started. So once we have the application, we can just go through the each and every component that we develop and how we develop it. Okay. So if you see, this is how my application would be looking alike. So if you see, I have a bottommost section called a table section. Okay. At the same time, we have a centermost chart. This shows me the analytical detail. Here, this particular table would give us an possibility to change and categorize the data as well. Let's say currently we are showing the data only by the sales organization. Following, you also want that, okay, along with the sales organization, I also want the document and year-wise data also to be followed. So if I just select this, you will be getting the information also followed by these are for the January, these for June, March, likewise. Okay. All these things would also start behaving as something called a filter. Okay. So for example, if I just click on this saying, okay, what is this? So it just on mouse over, it should show me, okay, it's for R100. So if I just click on this, I'll be getting the information. Okay. I'll be getting the information which is quite good shape, filtered with the rest of the component. Okay. Then we also achieved something called on the topmost component called the Kpi chart. Here the Kpi chart is nothing but a key performance indicator for a particular organization. Okay. So here this is something particular KPI component that we were able to achieve over here. All the components are called visual filters. If I just click over here, this would switch me to the compact filter mode. This would switch me to the visual filter mode. For example, let's just say I want to filter down my data for, let's just say, for this particular R1. So if I just click over here, you will be finding that my, if I just say go, my chart as well as my tabular data would be filtered based on the same. Okay. Now, if I just go to the development part that we did in the earlier session, then we develop a CDS view. That particular CDS view was ultimately containing certain business information saying, okay, I want a sales org based data, and we derived certain minute price, and that is something we use for the sales analysis. Now, if we just come back to the development side, what we just did on the development side on the UI design. So as we know, we have something called bottommost section. So this is from where we actually started the development, and the business data that we are finding over here did the purpose of binding the same over here in the bottommost section. Then the question comes, how we are able to achieve the centermost chart? For that, we first have to generate a chart. Okay, so we generated a chart, okay, with UI.chart and certain components saying what would be my dimension, that would be cells org, and what would be my measure. Okay, after having these components in a chart, I need to bind this chart to the UI. So for that, I'll need a presentation variant. So I generated a presentation variant with a qualifier called default, which is being presented as a chart. Okay, and I will have a chart as a default, which we just generated over here. So I'm just referring it to the same. So this default qualifier is something that I have to use somewhere. And where did I use that? I use that somewhere over here in the manifest.json. You would be able to find something called Fiori app, a qualifier called default. This would ultimately map your chart to the centermost section. Once we have achieved this, we have anything and everything dynamic already provided by Fiori element floor plan. That is something we do not need to worry about, and it would automatically work on anything and everything. The filtering, the adjustment of the chart, everything would be taken care by automatically. Now, the question comes, how about this chart? How can we achieve this? Okay, so very first step as a developer, what we'll need is we can break down the issue. We can say, okay, we need the component, saying we need the chart. So we develop 3 charts over here. One for, let's say, bar chart, another donut chart, one line chart. Okay. After having these charts available with us, we again generated some sort of presentation variant over here for these 3 charts. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now, once we have this chart, as we talked about this particular section, it is called a visual filter. Okay. Now, as it is called a visual filter, we have to bind it in a filter level. How we can bind it in a filter level information? Using an annotation. So in the annotation file, you would be able to figure out that we have added those 3 properties. Okay. Here, distribution channel, division. In the local annotation, we added the value list, where our actual data would be the collection part of the data, and the visual this distribution channel filter is a qualifier that we just copied from here and just passed it over here. So it just created our very first filter, or we can say chart-based filter. Same goes with the division and month year chart as well. So that is how it is being displayed, and it's correctly filtering down my data as well. Now comes again one more thing that is also part of the ALV, the KPI, the key performance indicator. That is something we also learned. How did we achieve that? For that, we have also multiple sections. Okay. Now, if I talk about those multiple sections, how does it look like? So we have, first of all, any chart we can use for showing in the KPI. Now we thought, okay, let's just reutilize something that we have already developed. So we utilize the visual division. Okay, that was created as a donut chart. So we just utilize that. On top of it, we just created one presentation variant and one selection variant. So this presentation and the selection variant has a qualifier of it, and we created a selection presentation variant out of it, and it also has a qualifier. Once we have that, I mean this particular selection presentation variant, we just went to manifest.json and added one model, where in the descriptor editor in the models you will be finding, I can find a KPI model. This is something that we just created just by clicking on plus, and here we added the name, and with reference to the main service we just created a model. Once we have that model, over here in the SAP UFI generic app, you would be finding the key performance indicator section. Here you can give any name of the card. We just pass the model KPI. This KPI is nothing but the name of the model that we created. Entity set is nothing but the actual entity set that we defined over here. And then we just provided the qualifier. Okay, and the qualifier is something that we define as a selection presentation variant over here. Okay, and we just achieve the output. Now, yesterday we were facing some issue while loading this. Why? Because if you see, while generating the information over here, we provided that information should be presented in 2 manners. First of all, as a chart, which is also totally fine. We have a chart already available. We also mention as a data point. which is a net value. So net value property is already there, but we haven't generated a data point by then. So what we are just missing upon is you have to generate a net value. Okay, in a net value, I just added one more annotation called UI.dataPoint, and you have to just give a title. I just gave it as a total order value. So once we have this particular title given, we would be able to find total order value, and upon clicking on it, you will be finding the chart that you just mapped for the particular KPI chart on the pop-up. Okay. Then we are also facing one more issue, saying, okay, when I just click on this object page like this, we are getting some sort of no data found or kind of stuff. Okay. Why was that? So maybe you would be remembering this stuff that we learn as a part of CDS basics, that whenever I am developing a CDS, my key component should be unique. Okay. So earlier we just pick the sales org and the item. Okay. So if I just pick the sales org and the item, okay, over here, at that time, what would happen is we would have a duplicate value for this key combination. Okay. So if I just say execute this, it's just getting loaded. Yeah, I'll just activate this, execute. So if you see, I have a duplicate record starting from, let's say, sales org. This combination is not a unique. So because this line item is coming from a purchase order line item table. Okay. And hence, if you just try opening anything, it would result into an error. As it's just loaded, it won't give you an error, but otherwise you might find an error popping up that we have seen earlier. Just reload this. If I just open this, you would be finding an error because the key combination was not unique. So I have to add a proper key combination, or let's say key vh.vbln as, let's say, sales order. And as we have a proper key combination, we are through over here because we are getting a unique data for the combination of the request that we are getting over here. So if we just reload this, okay, I'll just go back, again go back, just refresh. Just open this particular page, and here we are getting a proper value because my data is getting correct output based on the key combination that is being passed. So this is something we learned on the earlier session called analytical list page. Okay. So this on a recap. Now we would be going through with something called the overview page applications. Okay. Just see OVP. Okay, so as a part of CDS Fiori element, we already learned the list report. Okay, we also learned the ALP. Now the portion that we are going to cover over here is called the OVP, the overview page application. Okay. So, like we discussed on the earlier session, that whenever we are going with a particular application, the list report, of course, the target audience would be all the employees we can consider, or we can say all the users. Here, the ALP and OVP mostly have a target audience which is from the management people. Okay, so ALP and OVP is mainly of the interest of management people, because if you see, if someone wants to go with the sales analytics, they will be able to easily figure out, okay, that for the particular, let's say this particular company code, I have this particular sales being done, and I can filter out based on a period or a particular distribution channel, division, anything I want. So that would be easy for a particular higher management people to analyze. If I just talk about more, so there is a most detailed view that we just figured out in a list report. Here there is more analyzed way that we figured out, that ALP would give you the more analyzed way of presenting the data. OVP even give you more crisp data saying, okay, it would just give you count saying, okay, let's say I have a particular card. Okay, so overview page application is built of multiple cards. Okay, it would give you multiple cards. Those cards can be, let's say, analytical card, or let's just say it can be a table card, or we can say a list card. Multiple kind of cards are there. These three are the ones that we are going to cover during the sessions. Okay, so this type of card would be there, which would be having the proper analyzed detail, or we can say the required information only, and it won't have any sort of detailed information on top of it. Okay, so if someone wants to quickly go through the information that is being presented in a very limited timely manner, then it would be easily accessible. Secondly, the adjustability, or we can say responsiveness, if I just talk about, then this OVP application is of course one of the other Fiori element application. So the responsiveness of the application, you would be finding the same as that of the list report and the OVP. Okay, so they are adjustable and responsive on each and every device possible. Okay, third thing, let's just say while developing, you design the card saying, okay, I want a card of, let's say, for a plant-based cells, or we can say division based, or we can say distribution channel, and you created separate cards for that. Going forward, someone wants to readjust those, saying, okay, I am more interested in my division based information. If someone wants to readjust those, then they can readjust. Someone wants that, okay, I want this information to be on a bigger screen. Some particular card I want only on a minor stuff, because that is something which I just need a glimpse of, but I don't need to go in more detail. Then those cards are resizable as well. Okay. So overview page application would give you a functionality of generating multiple cards. At the same time, they will be responsive and the resizable as well. Okay. Next thing is, sometimes what happens is you are presenting the data. Okay, let's just say I am giving a more crisp manner of more crisp data to my management. They are happy with it, but at the same time, they want a functionality that, okay, you are giving me a data. Currently, you are in sandbox system, so we have a limited amount of data. Going forward, if a company is running for, let's say, decades, then it might have a set of information which is into millions. Okay, so if I want to segregate, saying, okay, I only want to see the data for, let's say, R100 plant. That is the only information I want to see. And you have, let's say, plant-based cells analytic detail also available as one of your cards. So there should be a mechanism with the help of which we should be able to filter the data. So filtering is also possible on, we can say, your OVP, overview page. Technical architecture wise, how my overview page application would be built. So my overview page application, if I talk about over here, then it would have, my overview page application would have, let's just say, one section over here. This section we can term as a, let's just say, filter bar. I will have a filter bar on top. Okay. Other than that, here we would have a body section, and this particular main body part would contains all the cards. Okay. Now, let's just say, as my management want to see each and every information in one place, requirement wise and end users wise, that is of course a valid requirement. We can't say no to it. But if I think from a perspective of a developer, okay, then my filter need a filtering mechanism. My card can contain a set of data which can come from business, different business segments. Let's say one is coming from plant level information, another one is coming as a division based information, another one is distribution channel, another one is coming from, let's say, purchase order. Okay, so here is some sort of SD related data, there is something MM related data. It means my one OVP page can contain a data coming from multiple data sources. So to generate an OVP application, we can use one or more than one data source. Okay, just a moment. Sorry for the interruption. I'll just take your minute. Okay, thank you. Yeah, guys, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so yeah, so to generate an OVP application, we can have more than one data sources. So let's say if I talk about more than one data sources, then what would be the purpose? Very first purpose, we can define based on the section that we have in an application. Okay, first section we would be having as a filter bar. Okay, so for our filter application, or we can say for filtering section, we would need one data source. I will need either another data source or a data source from the existing one, but which gives me the data with the proper information which I am looking for as a part of a separate data source. Because if I talk about a data source, my data source can be a service. A service can contain multiple entities, right? Now, one entity I can use for filtering section. From the same service, I can have, let's say, another entity which I can use for 5 different cards, which is possible. Another way would be, I can also have separate service for one service, let's say contain one entity for my filter, another contain another entity for my card 1. Likewise, I can have a separate entity for my different cards. Okay, so this is how I can possibly design my application. You can go by either way. Either of those are very valid. Okay, so what we need is we need one data source for filter section, another data source we need one for this card, another for this card, then for this card likewise. Okay, so unlike the list report and ALP, where the development was only requiring one base CDS view to which it would be connected, here my OVP application can accept multiple base backend services to which it would be communicating to. So I'll be first developing one CDS view and connecting it to the overview page application, which would be designing my filtering section. Then I'll be designing another CDS view which would design my, let's say, analytical card. Then I'll be designing one more set which would be designing my table card. Then we would be designing one more which would ultimately link my list card over here. And this filtering section would, based on the matching availability, let's say I have 3 filters over here: plant, division, and the distribution channel. So if my plant is relevant to this, then this particular section would get filtered based on that. If my division is relevant to this, so whatever filter I do over here would ultimately filter down my division cards. Okay, and I can have more than one filter also linked to one card. Okay, so this is how the architecture of overview page is actually linked. Okay, and I can have n number of cards available on a particular overview page application, but it's suggested to have a limited number of them, because if I have a plenty number of cards, the page would increase and the scroll bar would keep on increasing. Then it would become more difficult for the user to ultimately figure out the information they were actually looking for. Right. So what we would be doing right now is we would be defining one CDS view. We would be starting with our very first data source that we would be using for our filtering purpose. Okay. So let's just quickly jump onto the system over here. I'll just define a data definition over here. Okay, I can just say, okay, Fiori apps. Now, what was the naming convention that we used earlier? Okay, the ZUC underscore, let's say OVP. for, let's say, filter bar. I'll just go next over here, select my TR, define the view and say finish. Okay. Now, let's just talk about the data source that we would need for the particular purpose. Okay. Now, first of all, let's just have a SQL view defined for this. Now, what are things that we need? What all things will we need for this particular data source? So, of course, we are going with the self kind of information. So, we need, let's say, VBAK for the header. We can map it as a, let's say, VH, and we can give a inner join also for the, let's just say, VBAP. And the joining parameter over here would become for us the vh.vbln equal to vp.vbln. We would be selecting the list of compounds that we need as a part of my output. So, what we would be getting over here is, let's just say we want some sort of header self document. Then we would need some sort of, let's just say, line item number as well to have a proper key combination. Then we would need some sort of plant information because we are planning to create multiple cards for plant division and the distribution channel. So, I'll just say, okay, vp.works over here would give me a plant, let's say. Then we would need a distribution channel as well that we would be getting from the header. So, it would be vtwez. I can say dist channel. Then we would need some sort of division as well, which of course we would be getting again from the header one. Okay. Then we can have some sort of date as well that we can use, like we use over here in the ALP. So, I can say find AU date over here. If I just go over here, I can say I'll just fix this one as well from here, because as we have already learned how we have defined that logic, let's just reutilize that. Here it should be VBLN and not EBLN, preferably. So, what we just got is a set of data, okay, a set of data for the self document, item, plant, distribution channel, division, document date, everything. I'll just say active. Okay. Let's just see what kind of data it contains. So, it contains all the purchase orders, all the sales orders data, okay, along with it line item, plant, and everything and anything. Okay. Now, if I just say, okay, it contains all the information that I was looking for, I can also, let's just say, start creating the UI design as well. Okay. Now, for creating a UI design, definitely we would be going with the same approach that we have gone till now. We would be defining a particular MDE metadata extension, and what is most required thing for that? We have to specify metadata allow extension because we want to segregate my backend logic from that of the UI. So, I'll just select that as well. Perfectly fine. Next thing that we would be going over here is I will need a particular MDE file for this. So, I'll just say copy this and create an MDE file saying metadata extension. I'll just go next. Here, yes, MDE for OVP. go next, annotate the view. Okay, and we will be just annotating this view at a partner level because we are working as a service provider. Now, what all fields do we want to be present, okay, as a filter? So, for example, let's just say I want a plant, distribution channel, division. Let's just take month and year as well. These all things we want as a filter, right? So, I'll just remove this and just say insert all element for now. But out of this, I'll just remove this. Document date also we don't want. So, I'll just create filters on the UI. How I can create a filters on the UI? Using @UI.selection fields. Here I can mention the position. Okay, I'll just keep it as let's say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Correct. Now, when we are defining this, we can also give any sort of custom label also if you want to give to. Maybe we haven't activated this, that's why it's giving an error. Activate this. Now, we want to give some sort of label as well other than the default one, let's say. So I can say okay, end user text dot label over here, and we can give it as a let's say plant. Likewise, we want to also give for distribution channel, division, and let's say month and year. So I can say okay, distribution. Here we want to give it for the let's say division, and I want to give it for let's say month and. I'll just activate this as well. It means I have a CDS view prepared using which I will be able to design a selection fields at least. I mean the filter bar. Okay. And I have a proper core part as well as the UI part also ready for that. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just exposing this as a service. Okay. What I'll be doing over here is we'll just say let's just say OVP main set. Okay. So over here, once I activate this, I'll have the service ready and I'll just try to register that. I'll just copy the name of the OVP I'm being. Okay, I'll just add a service over here saying okay, it's a local one. Just add this. Okay, I'll just go back over here and we'll just use this particular service over here and we'll try to create an OVP application. Before that, let's just try to see, okay, the service that we registered is registered successfully and are we having any sort of information that we are looking for? Okay, so it just says service is active now. I'll just go over here and like we generated the ZEOFC, ALP, list report, this, okay. We'll also generate one application over here. we would be taking a Fiori element application for overview page. Okay. I'll just go next. I'll just say ZEO FE OVP. Namespace I can give it as a, let's say EO.OVP, let's say. I can say cells overview. Can use the same in the description as well. Just go next. I'll be using the same system. Pass it over here. Just go next over here. We'll get annotation file. We'll just select that. Go next. Okay. Now this would be my data source alias. You can give it any alias. Alias does not need to be the name of the CDS view, but it's good to keep that just for future relation when we want to figure out okay what is going wrong and all. So I'll just say okay OVP main. So this is my entity. You can enable live filter, so you do not need to click on go button. Now here you can allow them that okay my UI card can also be resizable. So I'll just say okay resizable. I'll just say next and I'll just say finish. Okay. So I have this particular application prepared. I'll just execute this. Click on this, just go next. Okay. And if you see over here, we have 4 filters available with us. Okay. Now you all know if I want to give a value help, I can also create a value help, of course, using the same mechanism. Because each and every time you work with a Fiori element, the set of annotation would always be the same. There is no difference as such. Okay. Just you have to figure out, okay, in what particular time, which particular component you have to use and which set of annotation you have to use. That's the only thing. So if you want to give a filter, of course, definitely you can give a filter, but ultimately it would result into a value help and you can directly use it likewise. Okay, that you can consider it as a homework. Try doing it at your own, because sometimes if you just go through the session and don't try it at your own, you won't be able to do that. Okay. After time passed. Okay. So this is something we can consider it as a filter. Now these filters would be applicable whenever we are creating a card, because if you see this is just a filter bar. This application is not at all usable because we don't have any information other than the filters. Now, what we want to use over here is we want to create, let's say, a card. Okay. And if I talk about a card, then what kind of card we would be creating? Let's just say, for example. So first we would be going with some sort of plant-wise information. So our purpose of this particular CDS view is clear, it's done. Now what we would be main focusing upon is, okay, for example, I am creating one more card called analytical card over here, which would show as a chart over here, will show all the plant wise information. Upon selecting or passing any plant over here, if I want that my plant wise card would also, the data on the plant wise card should get filtered based on this filter, then the property name should be matching exactly. If I write plant over here and in my actual card which I am creating as a data source for my analytical card I am creating over here, then in that case the filter won't work. Okay, so if I just write capital P plant over there in the next CDS view, then it won't work. I have to use the same name that I have used over here, because that is the only mapping that would identify what data needs to be filtered. Because that particular query, we are not going to write any sort of custom code. Okay, this everything would be done dynamically, and for that all we have to do is follow certain set of annotation and follow certain set of rules. That is the only thing that would ultimately make our application stable and live. Okay. Now, if I just say I have one application filter ready, it means I am just done with this particular part. I have my filter section ready. I will be going with my analytical cards generation. Okay. So what I'll be doing over here is I'll be creating one more CDS view called data definition over here. That you FEF. Here we would be creating another CDS view for that. I can say ZEO C OVP, and let's just say A for analytical. You can say OVP for analytical card. Let's say I'll just go next over here. Again, go next. We'll just create a view for that, which would give us the possible information for a particular overview page. Okay. Now, when I want to present a particular OVP based information, and that too also in a chart, okay, we should be clear that what all components that we need. First of all, we are saying we are creating analytical application. It means we need a chart, because how my analytical application would be looking alike, that is something we already know. It would be looking something like this. Okay, so this is something we are planning to have our OVP application looking alike. And in that case, we need a chart. Now we know how to create a chart. How we know that? Because we already created a chart in our earlier example. So let's just say I want to create a chart for a particular plant-wise information. What kind of plant chart we are interested in? Let's just say I am interested in a donut chart. For example, you can take any random chart. I'll just copy this, and it should be there in the UI.chart. Okay, so I'll just go over here and just say I want a OVP chart. Okay, for that all I need is my skeleton. Now, as per the convention, of course, we would be creating an MD for that. Okay, you can say MD for OVPA. I will just annotate a view, and we will be annotating this view. That is something we have to write over here. Okay. Now, what do we want to generate over here? So we want to, okay, what it is saying. Okay, of course we can't keep a CDS view empty. That is something, of course, we are not going to keep it anyway. We want a chart. Okay, so we can copy it from here and say edit in a UI.chart. Okay, so we only created it in the earlier session, so I am just like using it. Okay, now what we are more interested in over here is we want a chart for a particular plant wise information. So over here in this particular information, we need a data source. So we have a chart section. We want some sort of data onto which we can map this particular chart. I'll just go over here and say, I want some sort of data source. The data source for me would be again coming from the original one. I'll just copy it like, okay, I want this sort of data. On top of it, whenever I am displaying a plant to my user, of course, it won't look good if I just display them the technical information. So first of all, I am getting data from my header table, then line item table. Then I will also pick some data from my let's just say plant table as well. So I can say okay, T001W, that is a plant's master table. T1 on, of course, plant comes from the line item table. So I can say okay, works equal to T1 dot works. Okay. Now here we need to define what all fields we would be interested in. Okay. So we are mainly interested in the plant-wise business, plant-wise net plant-wise net business that has been done. And how I can figure that out? By having the plant-wise total sales that has been done. So first of all, I'll need a plant for that. So I'll just okay pick vp.wrks. I can say as plant, because the plant is the name that we have used in the OVP. Another thing that I'll be using over here is the description, because that is something I would like to show to the user. Okay, so I can say this particular T1 because it's a plant's master table, and I can name it as, let's say, name1, and I can say okay, so nothing but a plant description. Okay, then what we would be showing again over here is we can just show let's just say summation of the total business that we can also get from the analytical application, this vp.net value that we have already used in the analytical app. Okay. So we can consider this as our total order value. Okay, and we want the overall information. So I'll just group the data, because this is something we also learned during the CDS basics, that whenever I want certain aggregation function to be used, then all the non-aggregated columns should be grouped. So I can say group by vp.works and t1.name1. Now I have to give a SQL view name as well over here. It's good over here. I'll just activate this. Okay, and let us just execute this to see what all information we are getting. So we are getting that okay, for plant R100 we have 6,65,000 business done. For HM00 it's 100. Likewise, we have information for each and every plant available. Okay, and we have a description of a plant also coming from the plant master table. Now, as we have this information and we are creating metadata, I'll just write metadata dot allow extension true. It's taking some time. Server issue. Okay, so it's still loading. Okay. Okay, it seems we are good over here. Let's just activate this. Server is Okay, we are good, right? Now, let's just go over here and say, okay, we have a chart. Okay, now this particular chart, we would like to map. For that, what all things we will need over here? First of all, we are saying this particular CDS view we would like to map. Then we would first like to have a particular T1.name. That would be something that we would be using over here. So I'll just first add all the fields. Then we would be removing the fields that we don't need anyway. Okay. For this particular plant, we don't have anything specific other than the filtering that would automatically work. For that, of course, we do not need to pass it to the output. I will need the particular plant description in the dimension over here as well. The total order value we would be displaying in the measures. Okay. Now, for the particular plant description, we would be giving a proper text saying, okay, end user text dot label, and we would be saying, okay, it's nothing but a plant, because I can't say plant description to the user, because for them it's nothing but a plant. It's a description technically saying. I'll also define, okay, it's end user text dot label over here, and here I can say it's nothing but a total order price. Okay. Now, one more thing that we figured out over here is whenever we are working on analytical set of data, okay, we have to figure out, we have to give what is the default set of aggregation that we are expecting on the data. So for the net price, it would be a summation of the data. Let's say for this plant, what is the total data likewise. So the default aggregation that we are expecting over here, and we would be giving it on the technical level, I mean on the business logic. So I'll be just defining, okay, the default aggregation for the net price value should be a summation. So that is something we also define, fine, which is also working perfectly fine. Next thing we want over here is we want to map the particular card over here, which is available for me, to the this particular total order value. Okay, so it would be displayed as a card. So what I can do over here instead is I can define the particular qualifier. It's wrong. It's visual division. I can name it as, let's say, plant card. And as it's rotating around the particular total order value, I can just name it as a, let's say, UI dot KPI. And here in the KPI, we can define multiple details. Okay. So what all details we need? But how are we going to present that? So I can name a default presentation variant qualifier. And here, this particular value would not be presented as a information of we can say a column. It would be presented as a chart. So we can say the default presentation variant would be presented in a manner of a chart. So we can directly pass it as a plant card over here, and we would be able to present it as a chart. So the KPI information, the key performance indicator of the information, is most relevant to the total order value. And that is why we are presenting it, and we are presenting it in the form of a card. I'll just activate this. Then I will just go over here and just say codata.publish, and I'll just say codata.entity set name, and here I will give it as a, let's say, some sort of let's say analytical plant set. And I will just activate this. Now I'll just copy the name of the view to register the service, because we are generating a separate service for this, and this service we would be using for the card. I'll just click on this. Go back and just check whether the service is active or not. Once we have the service registered, I'll be using the same service to add the card. But where we can add the card? Here we have just a filter section available for now. Okay, here we have just the filter section available. Now we want to add the card. So I'll be just saying, I'll be just going over here. Here I can just go and just say right click, new, and I have to add a card. So I am not creating a separate application for that. I am just adding the card to the existing application. And here we have multiple type of card possible. So I'll be selecting the, let's say, analytical card, and we can say, okay, select to add the KPI header for this information. So I just added that. I'll just go next, and we would be selecting a new data source for, let's say, analytical plant card. You can name it anything. Just go next. You would be selecting the system, and the rest of the steps look very similar to the one that we have already done. I'll just go next. You would be selecting the list of annotations that are popping up automatically. I'll just go next. Here you would be selecting the entity set. Okay, and here you can say plant based cells. Okay, and here we can say let's say document currency. Okay, now we have all this particular information available. Here you can give any sort of value selection info. It's just a mandatory, but it doesn't have any significance as such on the card. So I can say self details. We can have multiple set of information. That's the selection presentation variant. If you want to give, then you know what is the purpose of selection presentation variant from the ALP that we have already defined over here. Okay, if you again want to give some sort of information in a sort of a tab, then you can give that. But we had already did that in the ALP, so we won't be using it over here. I'll just go next. I'll just say the number of column I am spanning row. I'll be spanning over here, let's say 5 number of rows for the 2 columns. Okay, and I'll just say next, finish. And we'll try to refresh my application. And you would be finding the information being presented in the form of a chart. Okay, why? Because we already inserted those information for the total order value. So what you are getting in a representation over here is the total order value. Now, for example, you want to filter down the information saying, okay, I don't want all the information. Instead, I just want certain limited information. So fine. If that is the case, what all limited information we need? We need, let's say, R100 and let's say 4000. Okay, so I'll just say you want R100 and 4000 as well. So you would only get those relevant information. Of course, we haven't created any linkage between the filter based CDS view over here, the main CDS view, and the CDS view that we created for the analytical card. But still, if you see, the filter is working clearly. Now, if I talk in a term of a UI developer, how we would be figuring out that it would be working? Because if I just say I want to remove this card, it would trigger a batch call, and this batch call is ultimately asking my analytical plant card set to select all the informations by filtering for the plant, which is this. Okay, so this particular plant property is coming from the filter. So if your name is matching, only in that particular case, the data which is being filtered would get filtered correctly on the card as well. Okay, so that is why the name of the property should also be exactly matching. Okay. Secondly, it's properly readjustable. I can set the card as per my requirement. Let's say I want plant based information earlier, so I can keep it over here. or likewise, if I have a multiple cards, then I can adjust it likewise. If I want to, let's say, shorten this card because I am not interested on more of this information, I can just readjust the size of the card as well. So this resizing is also possible, and this everything would be taken care by my Fiori Elements floor plan itself. Okay, one of that stuff. Are we all clear till the analytical card? Okay, seems good. Now let's just move ahead to learn onto one more card, because business does not always work on a same kind of requirement. Okay, business always mainly focused on the let's just say multiple kind of information you present. Sometimes chart based information is also important. Sometimes the textual information is also very important. Okay, so if I talk about those textual set of information, this analytical card is done, but of course the tabular set of information is also very important, where not all the information we would be presenting as we are presenting here in the analytical list page, like 50 sets of information, but instead the main information we can show, let's just say in a limited set of visual. Let's just say I am able to display a table instantly over here, which contains just the 3 columns. Okay, saying I have a, let's say, a header which just say, okay, what is my name of my division, which just say, okay, what is my total order value, and what is my, let's say, credit limit. So this is a very important information for a business. So if I can just show this information, then also it would be more than sufficient for them to come at any conclusion for the business purpose. Okay, so the same we are going to have over here. Currently we just went for the plant based information, but if you see, I am just filtering on this. Now let's just say I just filtered the division over here saying 01. Now as my plant doesn't have any sort of division, it won't have any impact. But if I have a division based card, in that case this particular filter would have an impact, and it would ultimately show me the division wise data. That is something we can, let's say, try to achieve some what in a term of let's just say table card. So let's just try to create a table card for this. So what I'll be doing over here is I'll again be creating one more data source for that. Okay, I'll just go over here and just say create a data definition for me. Okay, and here we would be saying, and here I will be just saying I want a table card. So I'll just say that EOC OVP, but for table card. So I can say OVP. Now we are planning to create a table card for the division information. I'll just go next over here, define a view, and just say finish. As we have a particular view with us ready, let's just work on the data, the set of data that we are interested in and that we can present to the output. Okay. Now, what are we planning to create over here? We are planning to create a table. Now, when I say a table, it's same as this, correct? If I present it in a list report or analytical list page or anywhere, doesn't matter. It's just the table which I want to prepare. And if I want to prepare a table, which particular annotation would be of use for me? The UI.line item. The same we would be using over here as well. Now, let's just move forward. First, focus on the data. Then we will be proceed with the designing as well. Just say SQL view I just created. The set of data which is of our interest for this particular view would also be more or less same, but this time we would be rotating on the division. I'll just copy the data source, which is nothing but a VBAK and VBAP. Okay. Now, if I just go over here in the main CDS view, what is the name of the division I just gave? It's a division. I'll just use the same over here as well, saying my key this time should be vh.sprt, and I'll just call it as a division. Okay. Now I am more interested over here is in the total order value. So I can say sum of total order value okay. Then again we are more interested in also, let's say, credit price. So I can say okay, sum of, let's say, VP dot, let's say, CMPRE is nothing but a credit price for a sales order. So I can say total credit price. Okay. Now once we have this information, of course I can't show the division code to the business, right? So group by is missing because we are using aggregation. So I'll just say group by and vh.sprt. I'll just say activate this. Okay, and I will just try to execute this to see okay what all information I am actually getting in my output. So I am getting the division. I want, let's just say, name of the division. So how I can get this particular name? I have to go for its text table. Let's just say I am going in my VBAK. If I just say SPRT, it's over here. What is this particular check table? It's TSPA, but it doesn't contain any text. So is it have a separate text table? Yeah, it does. So we would be using its separate text table for the purpose. What is that? TSPAT. So I'll be just saying, okay, inner join as let's say T1 over here, and here the keys are language and the division. So I'll be just saying, okay, T1.spras equal to, I'll be using the current login language, and I can say here it can come from my, let's say, header table. So I can ask the header table to provide me this part based on which I'll be just aggregating that. And here I can just say I want a particular text as well out of it. So I'll just consider, let's say, v text out of it. So I just contain t1.v text, and I'll just consider it as a, let's say, division description. But then I need to use this field as well because it's not containing any aggregation on it in the group by. I'll just say activate. And if I just execute, you would be getting, okay, I have a particular different division, and based on the division, I have its total order value and the credit price also available with us. Okay. So what I'll be doing now is, I'll be just generating a MDE for that because I want to also work on the UI designing. So I'll just say metadata extension. Okay. So I'll be just giving the same name. I can say MDE for Ovp C, and I'll be annotating the view. Say finish. Now, which particular view I want to annotate? This one, and we are behaving as a, let's say, service provider. So I'll just do this, and I'll be inserting all elements. Now, what is of more interest to my user? Okay. The more interest to my user is nothing but a division description. They are not cared about what is a division ID. So I will present over here the table information. So how I can create a table using UI dot line item. Here I can mention it as a position 10, and I can give it a label saying, okay, it's nothing but a division for me. Okay. Now, I'll just again do the same for the order value and the credit price. So I can say my total order value. And here I can say my total credit price. I'll just save this, but if you see it just is lagging off the metadata extension, that is something we are left to provide. So I can say metadata allow extension. At the same time, we also need the OData service also generated for that. So I'll just do the same in one go. Okay. So here I can say it's a table card data set. I'll just activate this. I'll just go over here and just say activate this, and it should take the impact of whatever we presented. Okay. And here, if I just copy this, the name of the CDS view, and try to register this. What I'll be just going on my home page, try registering this service because it has already been generated but just not registered yet. Click on this and pass the name of the CDS view. Just go back and just check whether the service is active or not. If it's active, then we are through. Okay, we have the service. Perfect. Now we have an overview page application ready with us, which has the plant card. Now we are more interested in one more card called a table card. I'll just say new in a card. And here I'll be just saying, okay, I want a table card. Okay. If you want to show any sort of Kpi information, you can also select that, not an issue. I'll just say, okay, over here I can say, table card set for, let's say, division. I'll just go next over here and we'll try selecting the service that has been registered, and I'll also copy the name from here. Select the name of the CDS view, just go next, select the annotation file from here. Okay, it's available. I'll just go next. Okay, I'll just select the entity. It just say, okay, table card set. I'll just say, what was the name that we just give? Plant based cells. Here we can say division based cells over here. And here we also specify in document currency. This is a subtitle. Okay. If you want to short by something, let's just say you want the maximum total order value to be at the top. So you can say, okay, short by the total order value. Short order you can make as a descending. Okay. And here you can say sales data. Here we want that my information which I am getting over here, if I just execute this, I am getting, let's say, 8 records and I am presenting it in a 3 rows. So I want 8 records in a 3 columns. Okay, and if I just go next, finish, I just go over here and just say enter. Then you would be finding that, okay, I am getting my all the division wise cells also present. So this is my plant wise cells, this is my division wise cells, and this information is present in the same chart, or we can say on the same application. So anything and everything is coming via different OData service, different backend service. This is one service, this is another service, this is my third service, and they are combined with each other to present me data all at once. Okay. Now, if I want to just rearrange saying, okay, I want only a small information on this, and I want, let's just say, plant information over here, then it's totally fine. It's not that you can only have the one which has been generated. You can also define the size of the information that is being presented as well. It's very dynamic. Okay. So these we can consider it as your table card, which allows you to present the information in a form of a table. Okay. Now let's just move forward to work onto something called let's say a list card. Okay. So list card is also more or less same, just a bit of information is differing. So to show it over here, we'll be just going with one more set of data. Let's just say distribution channel, because for any sort of sales information, these three information are very important, either a plant or division or the distribution channel. So I'll just generate one more card for list card, and for that we'll need a separate data source again. I'll just go with data definition, just go next. Okay, I can say OVP, and this time it's for a list card. I'll just go next, again go next. I'll be just defining a view, say finish. Just copy this particular application CDS view name and create an SQL view. We are clear till here. Now, what we want to have over here is some set of data that we can use for the application. I'll just say, okay, first let's just close the information that we actually don't need. Here we have two ALPs also open. Here this is an ALP. This is also an ALP. I'll just close that to have a full section for the OVP. Now, we are going with the list card, of course, with the distribution channel, but still the first set of information would always be the same for me. So I'll just copy this. So I have this information available. Fine. Next thing, what are the information that we are mainly interested in? So I'll just say I am interested in the distribution channel. So what is the main CDS saying? What should be the name? So it should be the distribution channel like this. So I'll just go over here saying I want a key called distribution channel and whose name should be dist underscore channel. Exactly this name I am expecting. Okay. Next thing, if I am presenting it to the UI user, of course, the distribution channel, whatever it is, doesn't make any sense because they are mainly interested in the description, because they don't know what is your, we can say, distribution channel code. Okay, so I'll just say over here in the header, I'll be finding some sort of distribution channel called VTWEG. Over here, I'll just click on this and let's just try to figure out some sort of description for that. I'll just say TVTW and I'll just go with the text table for that. Okay, which just give me the text table of that as well. I'll just go over here and just say inner join as I can say T1 on here. I can say vs.spras and what I sorry my bad, it should be T1.language, and here I'll just map it as a current user language because this particular text table is giving me information in all the languages, but I am only interested in the language in which I am logged in, right? Here I am to see the data and not to learn the languages, right? Now, so here I can set T1 VT WEG equal to where it is coming from. It's coming from header, so I can say VT WEG. Fine. Now, I can say T1 dot, let's just say vtext as let's say dist channel, let's say description, and here we also want the same information but distribution channel wise. So I'll just copy this to, which is nothing but my summation of net price and the credit price. Okay. Now, as I am using aggregation function, I have to use group by, so I'll be just using the group by over here as well. Okay, I'll just copy this, I'll just say save. Okay, And let's just try activating this and see what all information are we getting in the output. Fine. I'll just say execute, run the application, and here you would be finding, okay, for direct sales is this particular sales price and the total credit price, everything seems okay. Perfect. Now we want to proceed with the UI design. So I can say I'll first allow the extension. At the same time, I'll just create the service as well, because this is something which of course we will need for the Fiori application generation. So here I can say, I'll just leave it over here. It's a table card data set. So I can say list card data set. I just say save, and I'll just say activate this. Now I have to proceed with the UI design. So I'll just copy this and just say, go over here and generate a metadata extension. Just go next. Okay, and just say ZUO apps. Give the same name because that's the convention which SAP follows. So we are also following the same. Okay, I'll just go next. Next over here, I'll just create a UI design for that. Okay, and here we will be saying, of course, we will be behaving as a service provider. Just remove this from here, insert all the elements. Okay, and of course, the technical information my user is not at all interested in seeing. So I'll just remove that and will present the rest of the information. So I'll just say, okay, UI dot, let's just say line item. Okay, so the line item which I'll be showing over here says there's a position, let's say 10. The label I'll be showing over here is something called distribution channel. Here I'll again say, okay, UI dot line item. Here I'll just say position, it would be a 10, 20, and here I can say total order price. And here I can say UI dot line item, position 30, and here I can say label total. Here we can say credit price, and I'll just say activate this. Straightforward. Okay, yeah. So this is something which is available to us. Now what we are left to do is registering this particular service. So I'll just say, let's just register the service into my SAP. Okay, I'll just go over here, just add a service. Filter it, select the service that you want, add it over here in Fiori applications. Okay, and service seems active, so we are good over here. Now we have only 2 cards available, so let's just add one more card called a list card this time. So we want to add a card. I'll just say, okay, it should be a list card. Okay, I'll just set this, say next, you will be next. Okay, and here we can say it's a distribution list card set. I'll just go next over here, select the service which would be providing us the information we are interested in. I'll just copy the name of the CDS view, paste it over here. You would be finding it registered. I'll just go next. Okay, I'll just go next again. Just go entity set, list card set you are getting, and here we have say, let's say division based cells. Here we can say distribution channel based cells in document currency. Let's just say, okay, and here we are going and just saying, okay, I want let's just say sorting of the information by total order value. This time the sort should be descending. Okay, and I'll just say sales data. Just go next over here. Now, how many information are we having over here? So it just says 7. So I can create a, let's say, column of 3 and sorry, it's a 7 rows, and I can say of a 3 column. Just go next over here, say finish. Just regenerate the application. Here you will be finding the third card getting generated, which says, okay, this is my information. Here you would be finding the name of your distribution channel. Here it is your main information, because the very first information you provide is the main information, called a total order price, and this is something your credit based information. So this is how it would be looking alike. So depending on what is the requirement, how you want the data to be presented, how the business want to see it, you can always design this application overview page, which would show each and every information in at one place. So you see, this is how my application would be looking alike going forward. Okay, so this is how we would be getting each and every information that we were looking for. Clear till now? Okay, seems good. So we started with something called a list report application. We generated a dashboard, the create update functionality, analytical list page we also generated, which is containing all the sections, the below chart, the center main information, the visual filters, the KPI, everything and anything. Okay. Now, the overview page is also generated. Now, what we are more interested in is, I can't ask my user to install a local web IDE, have my project imported and run it, right? Instead, I have to deploy all this application to a Launchpad, from where they will be able to easily access all of this particular application. Okay, so that is what is on our agenda now. Okay, so before that, let's just have a quick 5 minutes break. It's 12:32. Let's just gather back at 12:37 or 38, and then we will be proceeding with the deployment. Okay, we'll see you again in 5 minutes then. Thank you. Okay. So, yes, are we here? Can we proceed with further? Can we proceed further with the deployment? Okay. So till now, what we have achieved is we have created separate multiple different kind of applications. Okay. And the application that we just talked about over here is the list report application, the ALP application, and the overview page application. So, okay, if I talk about the list report application, then what we just created earlier. Okay, I'll just execute this and we'll be able to figure out that we have a very nice PO dashboard available with us, okay, with a set of data, and upon click of it, we have also object page, which is also presenting us the information with along the data section, the identification, the field group section. Okay. At the same time, we also have an application which is also giving us a functionality of create, update, delete. Okay. Okay. We have this particular functionality of create, update, delete as well, and we also used to have some sort of this is the one. Maybe it was this one. Yeah. So we also created an application with the create, update, delete, also with a button called set to active, which is also getting triggered and setting any of my line item to active. I also have a header as well as line item data available in a single application. Okay. So this is everything we prepared. Now, what we are left out with is how we can make this application available to my end user. Okay. It means the deployment part. So we have a dashboard, we have a PO maintenance application, we have a overview page application, and we have a analytical list page application as well. Now, if I just say we want to deploy an application, then it has a multiple steps which we need to follow. I'll be just going to each and every of them. I can say deploying of a Fiori application. Very first step, starting from the very first step, if I talk about, then what we will need is we would need certain TRs. We would be first creating a TR. We would need a workbench TR, and we would need a customizing TR as well. So we would be creating a workbench TR and the customizing TR, starting from step 1. So I'll be just going over here. And let's just go over here and say I want to create a workbench TR. So I'll just create a workbench TR saying your Fiori app deployment workbench. I'll just say enter. The TR that is getting created, I'll just change the type to the development and correction. This is something easy. So this becomes my workbench TR. I'll just mention it over here for future reference. And we'll also need some sort of customizing TR as well. What my customizing TR would be looking like, I'll just create one saying, okay, customizing TR. We can say EO, Fiori app deployment, and we can say cust. Okay. This is the TR that would behave as a customizing TR for us. I'll just say rep test. So these two TRs we have, and we would be using it for the deployment, and which would carry our deployment. So going forward, if you want to migrate our development to any of the environment, then we can use that. Our second step, we would be creating a package. Okay. So I'll be creating a package saying, okay, I'll just go to SE80. Over here, I'll just say FE app deployment. I'll just say enter, say create an object. Okay. You can say FE app deployment over here. And we would be going with a workbench here. So we will be just selecting this. And we have this particular package ready. If I just open this, I will have this particular package available with me. Okay. So this becomes my second step. Third step would be actual deployment of the application to the ABAP repository. You can say actual deployment of application to ABAP repository. Fine. So if I want to actually deploy my application to ABAP repository, let's just list down the applications that we just created. So if I just go over here, I would have a list of applications saying, okay, this is my very first application. Or if I just directly go over here in the web ID, then it would be more clear. Okay, this is the very first application that we created. I'll just go over here in the component.js and copy the name. It just say, okay, ZDO CLR. Very first application. Second application that we just created over here is the create, update, delete functionality. Also has a name. I bet it should be a component. Copy this. This is my second application. Third application that we just created over here during the course is the ALP application. I'll just copy the name of the ALP application as well. Fourth application that we just created as a part of this is an OVP application. Okay, so I can say ABAP component.js in the OVP application. We can just copy it from here to paste it over here. So these four applications we have. So we have to proceed with deployment of each and every of them. Let's just start with the very first. Okay. So I'll be just saying, okay, right click over here. And we would be just deploying it to ABAP repository. We would be selecting the system saying, okay, I want to deploy it to S4H. Okay, so it's in progress. No time it should get deployed. And then we need to configure certain Fiori configuration. Fiori Launchpad configuration we need to work upon. Okay, I'll just say next. Now, what would be the name I can give? Let's just be more consistent. Just give the name of the application. Okay, I can say Fiori, or we can say PO dashboard. Here we can select the package that we created. I'll just have it over here. So I'll just copy it from here and just say paste. And I'll just use this, say okay. And you can go next. Now we have to choose a tier. Okay. What was the tier that we just created? Do we have it over here? If not, you can just enter the name of the tier over here. We would be using the Workbench tier for this. So I'll just say request over here, just say next, and we can say finish. So when we say finish, it would ultimately deploy this application. Okay, and you would of course be knowing, because we all are belonging to a UI developer, UI development environment, that it should create something called a BSP application for us. It's deploying. So if you see, deployment is in progress. So once it is done, we will also be getting a message saying, okay, it has been deployed. Whenever you are deploying it for the first time, it might take a while, but upcoming changes won't take much time, because it just need to append the changes. I mean the delta changes. Okay. So it says it has been created. I'll just say enter, or I can just reopen this. and you would be finding it in the BSP library, the very first application. Likewise, we need all 4. So I'll just say okay. Let's just go over here. Okay, is it this one? I hope it is this one. Let's just execute this so it would be more clear. Yeah, it's the PO maintenance. Yeah, definitely it's this one. So I'll just deploy this as well quickly. I'll just say deploy to web app repository. Select the system, say S4H. Just keep the name copied till now. Okay, I'll just go next. Over here and say PO maintenance. Browse for the name ZEO. We have the application deployment available. I'll just say okay, go next. Copy the name of the TR from this request. Select this. My bad, it was the wrong one. I have to select the correct one. This is the one. Just go next. Say finish. This time copy the another name saying ALP and the OV. Okay, so this application has been deployed. Now we'll just go with the ALP as well. Just say deploy to a web repository. Select the S4H. Meanwhile, we can also have CAT reopened. We will be finding both the application available over here. We'll just go next. Saying, let's just say cells. What does it say? It says cells analytics. You can keep it anything. I'm just keeping the same for uniformity. Just go next over here. Just scroll down. Okay. I'll just copy the name of the tier from here in 850. Go next. Say finish. Have another last application's name also ready with us. Okay, so it has also been deployed. Now, our last application, the OVP one, I'll just say deploy to a web repository. You just copy the name over here and just say again CAT to see the status. And we have all 3 applications available. Now, the last one we are working upon. Okay, just say self overview. And we can say select the package. Copy the name of the TR, pass it on to over here, just say finish. So this becomes a one of the steps. So we have our application deployed. So this application has also been deployed. Let's just figure it out from the CAT. So it's now available, correct? Now, next step. So once we have the application deployed, we are through with the second step. Now, for example, the third step. Now my fourth step would be, okay, I have to create a Launchpad role because now my applications are deployed. They are on its way, but I need to make them available on the Launchpad as well. So I have to create a Launchpad role. For that, I have a transaction called LPD cust. You all would be knowing. Okay. So what I'll be just doing over here is I'll just be opening that particular transaction over here. It's taking some time due to some server issue. Not an issue. Let's just wait for some time. Let's just try reopening if it's working. It's taking some time. Okay, so it seems we should be over here. It's still taking some time. Okay, so yeah, we are over here in the LPD cust. So all we have to do is we have to create a new role. So for that, I'll be just creating new Launchpad, and here we would be giving a role saying, okay, ZU, just give it a Fiori role. Here we would be selecting a transactional application. Okay, then you would be saying, okay, role for Fiori application like this. We don't need any sort of namespace as such, but we would be having this name mentioned with us. So I can say role name is the role that is created. I'll just say okay, but it doesn't have any namespace and we don't need it anymore. So I'll just say okay. Now here in this particular role, we would be creating each and every application. So I'll just say first application. Okay. So I'll be just creating first application saying, let's say, let's just start with our analytical application first. Or let's just start with the same sequence, I can say. Okay. I'll just say I need a PO dashboard. Okay. The applications that we would be mapping over here would be of a type URL. Now we need a URL of a particular application. Now how I can ultimately get the URL of the application? For that we have SICF transaction. Okay, and we need to pass the name of the application for which BSP application has been registered. For example, I can say this list report. If I pass it over here, you would be getting over here same mention. Here you would need the path of the application, but default host won't be there. That is something we don't need. We need it starting from SAP. Okay, over here, starting from SAP, we will be passing the name, and then we will be passing the name of the actual application. So for this particular instance, it is UCLR. and we have mentioned it over here. Okay. Once we have it, I'll just say show advanced option. Okay. Now we have to give an application alias. So we'll just give it the same as that of the application. I'll just keep it like this and just mention it over here. Okay. Now, what we will be doing over here is we need certain information. Okay. We need application alias is specified. Now we need additional information to reach out to your front end component. For example, if I talk about the list report, I'll be just going over here. It has a component.js. Maybe this is the one which is open for FELR, correct? I'll just copy the name of it and just say, I want this particular component. I'll just need the name of it and I'll just say, okay, SAP UFI component, and I'll just say this one, I'll just pass it like this. So it's just a SAP UFI component, which is there in the component.js. This is the name of it. You have to select anything and everything other than this component. Okay. If there is a namespace, then that namespace should also be included into the same. If I just say save, okay, so I'll just copy the name of this for the future, because sometimes we need this while configuring the application. So I'll just say, okay, component, this is the component. We also have some sort of application alias. So I'll just copy that as well. We also have some sort of URL. I'll just copy the name of the URL as well. Because these are ready right now, so if we have already available it with us, then we can use it going forward for any of the purpose. We have it, right? Now let's just say create a new application for all the rest of the stuff. I can say AO maintenance. We would again be going with something called URL. Here, this time, if I just say PO maintenance is there, then I'll need a applications path for that. I'll just go back over here, pass it over here, and just say apply. I'll be getting it over here. Just copy the name of it. Okay, and you would be getting the name of the service as well. Okay, and I'll just say copy this, and we'll use it. Let me just close this. Use it over here as well for the URL. I'll need this, so I'll just copy this. Copy and just pass it on to your, let's just say, application alias. Okay, I'll just close this. Okay, fine. So once we have this also available, it seems we are also good with the additional information for this. So I'll just copy the name of this over here. The application alias in this case would also be the same. And I'll just save this. So we have PO maintenance also generated as a URL. Just create a one more saying, let's say, sales analytics. Application type I'll be creating over here is called URL. Now I'll be just going with this ALP application. Copy this from here. Go back, pass it on over here. Say apply filter. Just go back, copy the URL, paste it over here, copy it from here, and you can have it available over here as well. We need an application alias, same as that of the application. I'll just close this, make it available as an additional application alias, close this as well. Okay, now additional information we want for the ALP. So if I just go over here, you will be finding it along with the namespace. So if it has a namespace, then you would need that namespace as well. If you don't use that, then your application won't be able to connect to that. So I'll just remove this, okay, and I'll just say save. So this would also get copied. I'll just copy this and have it available over here. Now, last but not the least, OVP we would be working upon. So I can say a new application, called, let's say, self overview. We would be creating a URL for that. If you have the application, let's just go back, pass the name over here, say apply filter, open it. Okay. We would be passing the name of the service as well. So this becomes my service URL. Okay. So the service URL, I'll be just using it over here. Next thing I'll need is I'll just close this. I'll need an application alias that I'll be using over here. Let's just close this. Go back to my web IDE. For the OVP, what is the application alias? What is the UI component? Nothing but this. Just paste it over here. Save. Okay. So I'll just save this as well. So it just creates 4 URL components for me called sales overview. So we have application role created with us for all of these 4 applications. Okay. Now, next step for us would be for us in this particular case would be to work on a particular semantic object. Okay. Next thing that we need over here is a semantic object, and how I can work with a semantic object. So to create one, you can say semantic object. And for creating semantic object, what is the transaction? Okay, it's nothing but a /n UI2 SCM obj. So I can say just copy this, say enter, and we'll just pass it on over here. Now we would be creating certain semantic objects. I'll just go in my change mode. It says it's a cross client. We'll say okay. Let's just create few entries. We'll give the semantic object name same as that of the application for the save process. Okay, let's say PO dashboard. Just say PO maintenance. Just say sales analytics. Just say sales overview. I'll just say save. It will ask me for TR, Workbench TR. I'll just use this and just say enter. So I have this particular 4 semantic object created with me and available over here. Okay. So I have this particular 4 semantic object also available with me. So once I have the semantic object available, all I need to do is a UI configuration. So all I have to do is I have to create some catalog, styles, and the group. That is the only thing that we are left with. Okay. So I'll just say I want some sort of, let's just say URL for example, let's just say we want it for Fiori Launchpad designer. Okay. So here you would be getting a full URL for a Fiori Launchpad designer. We can also open it in some sort of SAP portal, which would ultimately give us more detailed information. So I have this particular URL available with me. So I'll just copy this. Okay. So I can say, let's say, part for designer. I'll just paste it over here for time being. Now, this is a generic one. Okay. All we need to do is we have to use a specific one for our application. So what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, UI2 FLP for the Launchpad. So the URL that we are getting over here, this is the one that is of our interest. I'll just say allow. So this is my Launchpad URL. I'll just copy this, have it available on my notepad. Again, go back and just say I want a full URL of this as well. Now the server and the port is something that we have to change. So I'll just copy this and I'll just change the server and the port. Okay. SAP client for us is 800, and we are mainly working on, let's say, customizing. Let's just try opening this over here. Okay. Now what we would be doing over here is we have to wait for the particular browser to get open. It might take some time because it already has many of the tiles and the groups and everything available. Yeah, so it just got open, as you can see. Okay, so this is the final URL. We can keep it over here for our reference. Okay, so let's just save this. Now you would be going step by step over here. First of all, what we are main interested in is creating a catalog. Okay, so here we are at the catalog and here we have a plus button. So I'll just say okay plus. We would be creating a catalog with let's just say FEF September 2021. I'll just copy this. I'll just have it over here, and ID says, let's just say ZUFEC. Let's just say FC catalog. Just say save. So it should create a catalog for us. So we have a catalog available with us. Okay. Once we have a catalog, our next step would be to create and configure each and every application of us. So we would be creating, let's say, a static tile for each and every of them. Okay. We have our very first application available with us. So we would be saying, okay, it's a PO dashboard that I'm mainly interested in. Okay. And subtitle, let's just give the application of application title. So I'll just say it's a nothing but a list report. Okay. Once after having that, we would be more interested in the rest of the stuff, like what all information is required for me to create an application style. Okay. So for that, we have a semantic object that we already created, and that's why we have actually keep it over here as a reference. So we have this particular semantic object available with us. I'll just copy this, search for it over here, and we are main interested in the display. So we can say, okay, we are displaying the information. Once we say save, it should create a path on which my actual application would be visible going forward. So it just generated PO dashboard for me. Same way, I'll just generate for the rest of the stuff. Okay. I can say PO maintenance. Okay, this is also nothing but a list report. I'll just say display. Just say save again. Okay, we have that also created. Some error seems. We refresh. Okay, let's just create that one again. It seems there was some error while creating that. So this is the part that would be of our interest going forward. So we have this. Now let's just work on the analytical part as well. So I'll just copy the name over here. Okay, we can say it's nothing but an ALP for me. Select the one which is of our correct semantic object. Of course, we would be working on the display mode for this. And then we would be going over here. Last but not the least, the overview page application. All cells overview. And we would be just directly adding this over here. And we are more interested in displaying the information. I'll just say save. So we have these 4 tiles available. And if you see in the tiles also, you would find these 4 tiles along with its target URLs and everything. Now, once we have this particular information available with us, what we have to create? We have a catalog created, we have a particular tiles also mapped with this. Now we have to create some sort of target mapping. If I just go in the target mapping, you would be finding that I'll do this map it as a number 7 target mapping. Okay, so you have to select some sort of semantic object for here. So what we would be doing is we would be selecting each and every semantic object that we are interested in. So I'll be just going over here, just say okay, and here again we would be selecting the action that we are going to perform, say display. Here we have to select the SAP Fiori app for LPD custom because we are going by the LPD customizing. Then it would ask me for a Launchpad role that we created. So which role did we just created? This is the role. This is something that we have to use. So I'll just select this, and if you see the transaction is also popping up over here. What was the application alias that we have actually given? It is this one. So that is why we need each and everything ready, because it would ultimately help us with the selection and configuration going forward. So once we have this particular stuff prepared over here, what we would be able to perform is we have this everything ready. I'll just say save. So we have a particular target mapping available for one. Let's just do it for the rest of the application as well. Just copy this. Same goes over here. LPD cus, get the role. Transactional, and of course the alias would be the same as that of the application name. Two more to go. We have it available over here. I'll just copy the name. Okay. Then we would be giving the name of the, okay, just save. Now, last but not the least, the Ovp application that we are maybe interested in. Okay, now we need the role. This is application alias is this. I'll just say save. Okay. So we have created the catalog, tiles, the target mapping for all the 4 applications. Okay. Now, once we have the created the target mapping for all the application, what we have to next create is a group, because ultimately we have to assign this application on a group. Okay. So when I say group, I have to go over here saying groups, and you would be getting the list of groups available for the application. We will create one for our own application. So I'll just say fine, let's just create a group as well. Just a group, and we would give the same title for it, and ID we would be giving would be some sort of, you can say FEF. Okay, and here we would be saying ZEO, let's just say FE and GRP for group. I'll just say copy this, paste it over here for future reference, and save this. Okay, now I have to add the tiles which is available on my catalog to the group. So I'll just say okay. Here you have to select the catalog. So I'll just select my catalog, which is this one. It already has 4 tiles, out of which one all I want to add to this particular group. I have to select all of them. So I'll just select all 4 of them because I need all of them on my Launchpad. Okay. So if I just go back, this all 4 tiles has now been added to my particular group. Now, my catalog is created, my group is created, everything is ready. But who all users would be entitled to view this application? Because when I talk about a Fiori, it's created with a mindset that okay, the data you are presenting over here can be belonging to different groups. So whatever data you are showing can be very much sensitive. Okay, so you can't have each and every group of application being visible to each and every user. So what we have to do is a Pscc role assignment. So we have to work with a Pscc role assignment. For that, what particular thing we have to work upon? We have to go with a Pscc transaction. So I'll just open the SAP. And I'll just go to Pscc transaction. Okay. Here we would be creating one role. I can give any name to my role. I'll just say okay. The same underscore Pscc. To identify okay, this is a Pscc role. I'll just say create a role. Say role for Fiori applications. Copy it from here, paste it over here. Okay, and I'll just say save for an instance. Just go into the menu. Okay, here you have multiple options of adding a particular application. I'll just add 2 things. One, SAP Fiori tile catalog, and then the group. So if I just go over here, it would ask me for the catalog ID. So I'll just have a catalog ID available with me. I'll just copy this from here, paste it over here saying Fiori Launchpad catalog ID is there, and I have also included all the applications along with that. Okay. Now I'll also add a Fiori catalog group as well. So what is that particular group? This is the group. I'll just copy this and add the group ID as well. So if you see, I have the group as well as the particular catalog already included in my role. Now I have to ensure that my correct set of users have a correct set of authorizations. So I want that each and every user of my application should not be able to see this application. I will need, let's say, my user ID only, and you can also add whatever users you want this application to be seen in this particular user. So I have added this as for user. Once you say save, you will be finding a user comparison. I'll just do the comparison. I'll just save. So no comparison is required. I'll just generate a normal profile for this. Say save. Done. I have the roles also available with me, and it's also assigned to my user. Okay. So if I just try opening the user over here, you will be finding that particular user which you are trying to open over here as a role assigned which you just created. Okay, it just say ZEO FE PFCG. This role is there. So now hopefully we should be able to find my applications on my Fiori Launchpad. So let me just try opening this. So this is opening the particular set of applications. So it would open my Launchpad, and we should be hopefully able to find my applications now deployed on a Launchpad if we have not missed out on anything. Might take some time for the Launchpad to get loaded because there is a sandbox system. Many people might be working on their application and deploying it without a need of business or not, like we did. So you have to wait for some time. We'll just open it on a Chrome as well to see which one is quicker, and we can also have it visible quickly. As it's a sandbox system, like there are always some unknown issues. Let's see which one is quicker. We can also try opening it in the actual remote system. Actually, there is their server issue only, which is ultimately making our application a bit slow. There is some issue with the system, it seems. Okay, it seems it's server issue. We are not able to connect to the system. And that's why my Launchpad is also not getting loaded anymore, because the server is not available. Let's just check with the team once. Otherwise, we have all the steps that we followed, and that is the only step that we need to follow. Ultimately, all we are left to check is whether the applications are available on the Launchpad or not. But server is actually dumping out the last stage. Let me just check with the team. Okay. Hey guys, it seems the server is down due to some network connectivity issue on the vendor's end. You're able to connect to the system but not to the SAP system, and hence the Launchpad is not getting loaded. But technically, these are all the steps that we have to follow. We are almost through. All we are left to do is with just opening the application just to verify, okay, we have the application available or not. That's the only thing. Otherwise, this is the only thing. And maybe we are through with the course as well. Okay. What we started was with the basics of CDS and the list reports and the analytical list page, overview page, and the deployment of the application. Okay. So this is something. Everything is available that we need to know as a part of a Fiori Elements application. Still not working. Once the system is available, maybe we can just check whether the applications are available or not. I can also share a bit of 5 to 10 minutes of screenshots, or we can say recording, saying, okay, all these applications, how they look. Okay. And maybe you can also try deploying those same applications on your server and follow the same step, and you should be able to deploy and use the application on a deployed Launchpad. Just try giving the hands-on, because I can also see that like during the recordings I have shared, as currently none of the people has actually went through those and have tried anything out. It would be good if you try it out, otherwise it's ultimately a knowledge that you would be forgetting after some time lapse without any sort of hands-on. Okay. So this is something that we had for the CDS on Fiori Elements sessions, and maybe we'll sometime again cross our path in the future. We'll see you again in the future sometime. The system is available. I'll just share you the deployed applications info. Okay, that the applications are deployed. You can also try giving a shot from your end, and you should be able to deploy the application by following the same step that we just followed during the session. Okay, that's the only thing. Clear? If you have any question, you can unmute and we can discuss, because this would be the last moment. Then we will be talking one-to-one directly. In future also, if you have any query, you can definitely post the question on the WhatsApp group or share it on the mail that you might already be having contact at eduoceans.com. I'll be responding to it as soon as possible. Clear, everyone? Swapnil, Suksha, and Avan, are we all good?
Yes, sir. I'm good, and I will practice after that. I will any questions from the mail.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you try it out, then you will feel confident. Otherwise, there is no meaning of going through the videos only.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question. Means, is there local web ID is good for creating custom apps? Yeah, BAS, yeah, professional web ID.
So for creating a custom UFI application, it's suggestible to always go for a SAP Web ID full stack. BAS is not that up to the mark like Business Application Studio. VS Code with the Fiori extension you can still use, but I'll suggest always go with the SAP Web ID full stack. Reason being, you would be learning something somewhere, and whenever you are working on the actual project, at that time your 99% your project would be using SAP Web ID full stack. Okay. So if you have already practiced on that, then your knowledge would be sufficient and you would be knowing, okay, where to go, which button to click to perform which particular task, and you would be able to complete it easily. So my suggestion would be SAP Web ID full stack. If it's not there, then also register on the trial version on the account hanatrial.com. You would be getting SAP Web ID full stack access from there. Of course, it would be limited for 1 month, 3 months, but it would be sufficient for you to have a good hands-on.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Okay, then see you all. It was nice knowing all of you, and we'll see you again sometime in future. We'll share the recording soon. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much.